Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Machan Leira online Smicha. One of the lately the complicated halachas connected to the din of Bishul Akum is we know that the rule of Bishul Akum applies only on specific food, and the two main criterias are it has to be ein einecha k'maishu chai, that it's a food that is not able to be eaten raw, and the goy changed it, made it edible by preparing the food by cooking it. And the second one is that it has to be nechal shulchan malachim. It has to be a honorable food, a special food, important food. And there is a lot of discussion what fits into both categories. But I specifically want to talk about today a little controversy, and that is fish. Because even though the Shulchan Aruch and the Shachan Taz and Siman Kuf Yud and Siman Kuf Yud Gimel discuss differences between big fish and small fish, raw and salted, one of the things that have changed lately is the fact that many people eat sushi, and sushi are pieces of raw fish. Now, the common answer is given is even though people eat pieces of raw fish, you don't necessarily find that you go to a bar mitzvah, you go somewhere, there's an honorable meal, they'll give you a whole slice of raw fish. You might be able to eat pieces of fish as it's smuggled in the rice of the sushi, but as a fish, as a dish for itself raw, that's not common. Okay, let's say there are people that even do that, but let me tell you a discussion, a tshuva that's written in Shalos of Tshuvas, Shevet Halevi, Chelik Ches, I think it is, Siman Kuf Samar Gimel, where he has a special, Reb Shmuel Vosner has a special twist to this discussion. And that is, obviously in America, it just became something, and some people eat it, but most of the people don't eat it raw. In other countries, like in Japan, Hong Kong, or like that, it's a common food, and it's actually an honorable food to eat raw fish. So he was asked, if somebody's going on a business trip, if somebody's going from America on a business trip to Hong Kong or to Japan, where over there a lot of people eat raw fish, does he not have to be makpid anymore over there to eat only kosher cooked fish? Maybe because over there, when he's traveling on business, over there it's food that's eaten raw, so the rule of Bishul Akum doesn't apply. Incidentally, I want to tell you that the Aruch HaShulchan, by the halachas of Chalav Akum, he brings a story. He says, even though there are many ways that today's days you could be mater Chalav Akum, and that is because a lot of places that milk cows for milk don't even have a davar tamei be'edrei, so the chances of mixing in other milk are very, very slim. But you never know that when the Chachamim made Exer, you never know what else they had in mind. So he says, and therefore we find a story, he says a story in Aruch HaShulchan, that was a guy that was very makpid of Chol Yisrael at home, but when he would do business and he went to France, he felt over there you could be mekel. Until one time he came to a coffee shop and he ordered a coffee there, and because it was on a business trip, so he was more mekel, and the coffee, he took milk, because unter vegans he was more easy, and he felt that the coffee tastes very special, very great. Until he found out, and he asked, how does the person at the coffee shop make the coffee? He says he cooks the milk with bones, animal bones. And he realized, the Chachamim sometimes say one reason for every Yisr, but there are many, many more. Anyways, so here's back to the fish. Could a guy who lives in America, who flies for business to Japan or Hong Kong, where over there many more people eat fish raw, could he over there eat goyish cooked fish? In America, most probably not, but over there, would it be different? So he brings that the Darkei Tshuva brings two opinions. One opinion is from the Bana Chaya, and one opinion is from the Pri Chadash. How do you rate foods? What makes a food considered edible raw, and what makes it not edible raw? Because do you rate it based on the masses, on the group, or do you rate it based on the individual? individual people could be different than what the roiv, the majority of the people do. So in Sefer Bnei Chaya, he says that the way you rate the food, if it's an edible food, raw or not, it depends on you yourself. If you eat it raw, it's nechal k'moshel chai. You don't get gobbled in what the crowd does. However, the Pri Chadash says that you follow what the majority of the people do, and you can't overlap what others do elsewhere should apply here. Every place, the majority of the place is a certain way. That's how you follow. So because Ruba de Alma, the majority of the people do not eat fish raw, so it's not. I don't care what your taste buds are. Because the Roiv Ha'olam doesn't eat it raw, the Pri Chadash says that's what becomes the halacha, that it's considered a food that ain't nechal by shulchai, and a goy that makes it for you is Bishul Akum. According to the Bnei Chaya, maybe if you eat it raw, it wouldn't be Bishul Akum. But according to Pri Chadash, for sure there's Bishul Akum. Now the Aruch HaShulchan says even if you're following Roiv, it could be that you don't go Roiv Ha'olam. If you live in Japan, for example, in Japan, it's more common for the majority of people to eat raw food, raw fish. Even though he says a very funny expression that Libi Omer, my heart says that even in Japan, not everybody eats raw fish. It's just a large group of people. I wouldn't even say it's Roiv. The bottom line is, there might be a difference that in Japan, because a lot of people eat raw fish, then over there you might be able to eat it, even though a guy prepared it, because it's edible raw. But everywhere else, it doesn't become nigra what the rest of the world does. So there might be a difference between people living in America and people live in Japan. But Rabbi Shmuel Vosner says clearly, you that live in America and you go for business to Japan, it doesn't follow, you don't get sucked in to the minig of what they do. You still have to keep your custom, and legabi you, it's a type of food that's not edible, k'moshel chai, there would be problems in Bishul Akum. In Hilchas Shabbos, we just learned in our class, is also, this thing comes up too, because the Alter Rebbe says in Hilchas Muktzah and Siman Shin Ches, the Alter Rebbe says that raw meat, it depends, sometimes it's muktzah, sometimes it's not muktzah. If it's soft and people suck on soft meat, or soft that you could give away as pet food, it's not muktzah. But if it's very hard that even the animals won't eat it, it's muktzah, you can't move it. Raw fish, says the Alter Rebbe, muktzah. Why is it muktzah? Because it's no use to it. So people have shown me that some of the commentaries on the Shulchan Aruch say that used to be that way, but in some places people do eat raw fish, so maybe the rule of muktzah will not apply there.